Welcome back, guys. Alright, let's talk radios again for a minute. Showed you guys radio stuff in the past. Started out up front like always. Context, or if we want to be real fancy, contextual usage for this. Unprepared citizen in bad times. On your own private property, etc., etc. This is not about being a ham radio operator. It's not about contacting anonymous men over the airwaves to chat with. It's about working with your family and friends in really bad times to stay in touch and better be able to communicate and do the things you need to do without having to try to yell real loud to each other. So, that said, you know, I am a big fan of the ubiquitous Baofeng UV5R, especially the newer 8-watt variants. There's a couple of different ones. Excuse me. The bang for the buck for these, for me, has been off the scale. They're cheap enough you can afford multiples of them. They're fairly simple to learn how to operate with just a little bit of practice and education. They do the things, okay? They're not the greatest radio in the world, or not the fanciest radio in the world, but they work. Next step up from the UV5R in my book is the AR-152. I've got a couple of those. Those have been working great for me and are probably hands down my favorite handheld radio for the unprepared citizen for a whole lot of reasons. We can get into those in a different video. Just suffice to say that they are. However, curiosity got the better of me, and I will admit, being an old school commo guy, sometimes I get a little giddy when it comes to new radios and stuff. Don't judge. I really hate freaking bogus text messages. Sorry. So, on that note, I decided to try out a couple of new radios for no particular other reason than I just wanted to. I wanted to see how they worked. I wanted to see if they were any good. To see if A, they fit into my setup anywhere, and B, if I felt like they were good enough to come talk to you guys about. So, that's what we're going to do today. The first one I want to talk to you about is this one right here. This is the Baofeng there it is. AR-5RM. Now, there's two different versions. There's the AR-5RM and there's the regular R-5RM. Yeah, I think I got that right. Two different radios. This is the AR-5RM. Right off the bat up front, this is the standard battery that comes with it. This is a larger extended battery that I got. There is also a third battery that I found for these that's the same size as this one, but it has even more milliamp capacity, to quote the great Nada Rubicon. So you've got this one, the small one, and then this one. That's what it looks like with the big one. With the small one on, it's as so. As you can see right now, I just got a little stubby antenna on there, just because reasons. Now, I personally run the extended batteries on all my UV5Rs. So, to give you a little size comparison, there's the difference in size between the 5R and the AR-5RM. And it's a little thicker. You'll notice it's got a bigger screen and bigger buttons. Couple of things about this one to point out. And no, this is not a review. I'm just going over some numbers with you and I'm going to tell you what I think about it after playing with it. It is a 10-watt radio. Just like the AR-152. What makes this one a little bit different than regular 5R is that not only is it 10 watts, it's got the tri-power feature, so you can set it on low, medium, high power output. That's important. You want to be able to change your power output as necessary. A lot of times you want to run on low power, believe it or not, but it's nice to have the capability to go to high power if you need to. Gives you options. This one also has a copy feature. Now that's not something that I'm really utilizing any or have a lot of use for, but it allows you basically to be within range of somebody else's radio, and you can, the radio will copy their settings and frequencies, or frequency that they're on, and the settings for that frequency, so that you can easily talk to their radio without having to sit there and try to manually program everything in. I can't give you all the details on it because I haven't tried it, haven't used it, haven't had a need to, probably won't ever have a need to. I'm just telling you it's there in case that's important to you. I'm reading from my notes because lack of caffeine and old age and wisdom marks, as my wife calls them. You have your typical FM, AM radio capability that you can listen to music. Your receive frequencies. Here's what another departure from the regular UV5R. You've got your standard 136, 174, but you can also receive on 220 to 260, 350 to 390, and then of course 400 to 520. So you can receive on your 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and then also those other bands in between. You can transmit on, of course, 2 meter, your 136, 174. Also transmit on 220 to 260, and then 400 to 480. Yes, it is already unlocked, at least mine was. That gives you some good capability of listening, which is very important because for the armed prepared citizen, other than talking to our immediate friends, family, teammates, listening is probably going to be one of the primary things we're using a radio for. Having those expanded bands to listen to could be valuable. Now, having the ability to transmit on the 220 to 260 range is cool. It does give you some options. However, you have to understand, you're going to have an antenna that's capable of doing that. For those of you that might not know, you smart folks, tune it out for a second. You have to have an antenna that is tuned for the frequency band that you're trying to talk on. Doesn't matter so much when you're listening. Pretty much any antenna will listen good within reason. The stubbies, and you're going to get a little bit better reception with a bigger antenna. This is more for inter-team communications. But generally speaking, you're going to have an antenna that's tuned for the bands you want to talk on. Which is why I'm usually carrying around multiple antennas in my gear, depending on what frequency band I want to be in. So, like a dual band antenna like this one that is tuned for 2 meter, 70 centimeter, it works okay on each. Not the greatest, but okay, good enough to be usable. The better tuned the antenna is, the better your transmission and everything is going to be on that given frequency band. That said, finding an antenna that is tuned for that 220 to 260 range can be a little bit of a challenge. Now, they are out there, okay? They are out there, but you really got to go looking for them. It's not as common as a dual band antenna, a GMRS antenna, etc. Just a point of note, make sure I put that out there for you. You will notice, let me get her on here, that helps if you unlock it first. let me show you this real quick. So your bigger screen does some interesting things. For aging eyes like myself, the bigger screen's nice because it gives you something easier to look at. Now, instead of just being a regular black and gray screen like on the UV5R, it's actually a color screen. It definitely lets you see things easier, but what you've got to understand, I don't know why they did this, but they did. If you'll notice the top right here, and I've got it set to not stay on very long, the top, when you're in VFO mode and just got your frequency in there, it's nice big numbers, easy to read. But when you're in channel mode, it makes the letters really small, right? So it's a little harder to read. Not a big deal though. I mean, you typically are going to know what you're on anyway. Just a point of note. Great big numbers, not so much on the names whenever you're in the channel mode. I do like the screen. I do like the bigger buttons. They're easier to hit when you're using gloves and stuff. Everything about the radio I like. It uses your standard 2-pin Kenwood connection, so any of your other accessories for the Baofeng, for your, I say Baofeng, they're all Baofengs, for your UV5Rs, AR-152s, etc., will all fit and work with this radio. The downside. I'm just telling you this because it's there. For me personally, this is not an issue. It doesn't bother me. I don't think a thing about it. Indoors and in the shadows, it is nice, bright, easy to see. In bright, direct sunlight, it gets very hard to see the screen. It does wash out fairly easily under bright light. I don't care. That is not a point that I would take into consideration. Why? I'm glad you asked. Because I know some people get really wrapped around the axle on that. Well, what if I've got to take it out and I need to be changing frequencies or changing channels? Okay, this is where we have to be very, very honest with ourselves. In your context as an armed prepared citizen, how often are you going to be out changing frequencies or changing channels? Let's just say from a security standpoint, if you've got to go do a security patrol around your property, you're going to put it on a frequency, whatever your frequency is for that day. You're going to have your pace plan, and that's what whoever's back at the house, your talk, whatever, is going to have. That's who you're going to be talking to. You're going to go do your things. There's not really any reason that you're going to have to stop and change frequencies unless you're specifically compromised on that frequency. If that situation arises, then you're going to stop and take time to go through your pace plan and switch to your alternate contingent emergency frequencies. Well, when you do that, it's a simple thing because you're not going to just stand out in the open. You're going to find somewhere concealed. You're going to stop, and it's fairly easy to shade the radio. Oh, boom, okay, I've switched, I'm good. Put it back in your pouch, and away you go. It's not a big deal. It's very easy to do. So not being able to see the screen is not a big deal. I just point that out because I know there are people that will get wrapped around the axle about that. So that's covering that one. That is the AR-5RM. Next up, we have got the UV21R. All right. Now, this one is very similar to the AR-5RM. There goes my wife's driveway alarm. It does have a bigger screen and bigger letters, numbers, etc. than a standard UV5R. And I'll give you a comparison in size. That's what they look like. There's only one battery for these. Let me do this real quick before we get into it so I can go ahead and show you. Boop. Alright, so we're going to go backwards on this one, but same thing as the 5RM. On VFO, the numbers get real big. In channel mode, it gets real small. Oh well. It's not really a problem. Same screen issue. It does wash out in bright light. Again, not an issue for me. I don't care. This is an 8-watt radio. It is dual power, so you've got high and low instead of tri-power where there's a medium setting, which is fine. It still gives you the options that you need. Otherwise, it covers the same frequency range as the AR-5RM. All the same bands of transmitting and receiving. And it does have the copy feature on it. One of the differences that sets this one apart is it does have an IP67, 50 something. One of those two, I don't remember. It's an IP rating, meaning that it is water resistant. It is not waterproof. If you go swimming with it, it ain't gonna work. If you get caught out in the rain with it, you'll probably be alright. I wanted to try it out to see if it would be a little bit of added extra protection for when I'm out doing the things as a inter-team radio, even though I still utilize the Mark I Motto weather protection device on all my radios regardless of their weather setting. Same thing connection wise, still the 2-pin, still uses the regular Kenwood stuff. The batteries on here you do have to take on and off with a little flathead screw. I did fail to mention that the stock battery for the AR-5RM, the extended battery, and the batteries for the 21R are USB-C chargeable or cradle chargeable. Do it either way. That's what the batteries look like for those. There's a covered USB port right there. They do both have belt clips if you want to belt it. I typically take these off because I'm running them in a pouch. So I just had them on there to show you guys that they're on there. I've been wanting to get this one out in the rain. Unfortunately, the couple of times that it's rained decent enough for me to actually try it, I haven't been where I could get out with it and do it. So I can't attest yet to what the waterproof rating is or isn't on it. Suffice to say, I'm not going to go swimming with it, but I would like to get it out in the bare rain. But I reiterate, I will still be running other protection from my radio. For me, your mileage may vary, this is a very important piece of equipment. It is a piece of equipment that I'm banking lives on, including mine. If you are banking your life or someone else's life on a radio, I don't care what the rating is on it. You need to have it protected from the elements. There's no reason not to. If you are trusting the rating, Murphy is going to show up one day and introduce himself to you in a very, very bad way. Cover it up, put it in a pouch, protect the dadgum radio. I see too many guys just clipping radio onto their gear and diddy-bopping along. It's not often I'll tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you, don't do that. Don't. I don't care what your radio is. I don't care. Don't do it. You can do it, because obviously I can't stop you from doing it. I just want to be on record as saying, I told you don't do that. So when Murphy shows up, you cannot at all say, gee, I had no idea, because this is me giving you the idea. What else about these? So far, they've done the things. I mean, how far do they talk? I don't know. They've talked from me to my friends, me to my family, where we've needed to talk. So that's how far they talk. They're going to talk as far as they're capable of talking, depending on the antenna that you're using, the frequency that you're on, and the kind of terrain that you're in. That is all going to dictate how far a radio talks. Not going to get into all that again in this one. We've already dragged on long enough. Programming. Chirp compatible if you want to program them. I just put basic stuff in there. It is there. It's easy to do. The 21R, I believe you use the UV17 Pro setting. Somebody asked me about that the other day on X, I believe. And I had to put it in there. But yeah, the UV17 Pro is the setting that you want to use for the 21R. Are these right for you? I don't know. They're doing pretty good for me. I like the capabilities. I like the features. They are not really any more expensive than a UV5R. Just depends on where you're at as far as what you want, what your thoughts are on batteries, etc. If you've got everybody running UV5Rs, it might be smart just to stick with those, because then you can have a whole bunch of the same battery. You got backups and spares. If not, this is an option. Spare batteries are not that expensive. The cost of these radios is not that expensive. They're right in line, quite honestly, with the UV5Rs, the FR8s, all the different variants. Now you probably can't, maybe you can see that on the camera. I'll give you the difference in size between the three. 21R, UV5R, AR-5RM with the extended battery, and the only battery. So there you go. There's your three sizes. I'm going to keep using them. I'll keep trying them out. Like I said, so far they've been working. They talk on the channels I need them to talk with. Oh, this one was unlocked, by the way. Same as this one. Nothing special I had to do to unlock them. Program nice and easy. I pushed the buttons and lost one to lost three, or you lost two, and it works. So there you go. If it's of interest to you, go check them out. If it's not, don't. Most importantly, whatever ones you've got, you got to get out there and practice and train with them. You've got to learn how to use them. Get with your friends, go do the things, and learn how to get them right. As always, the clock is still ticking, guys. Get out there and get ready. I'll see you later.